TikTok is the most vulgar, vapid, self-absorbed, and dehumanizing social media site in living memory. It's a platform marketed to teenagers which incentivizes underage girls to act like burlesque dancers in strip clubs for the viewing pleasure of sex-crazed teenage boys and literal pedos. This is why TikTok serves as a sewer pipe of projectile diarrhea aimed directly at our gawping mouths. And with everyone and their dog trying to get as many views as possible, TikTok has managed to gain a foothold in the psyche of tomorrow's young adults. As Andy Warhol said, in the future, everyone will be world famous for 15 minutes. So then the question is, where the hell did this wave of TikTok downloads even come from? Why did the Reddit CEO call TikTok fundamentally parasitic? And why are governments around the world becoming so nervous about TikTok? Something else is going on.
From the top, make it drop, that's some rap, and I get a bucket and a mop, that's some rap.
It's no exaggeration when I say that TikTok is damaging society, which is a worrying fact when you consider that TikTok is being downloaded at an exceptional rate, garnering more downloads than Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram. And with this has come an unparalleled rise in the ethos. I mean, the majority of posts on the site look like underage girls either showing off their bodies or being explicitly sexual. For example, just look at the TikTokers such as Charli D'Amelio, a 16-year-old girl who does nothing but shake her ass, wear skimpy clothes, and dance to insipid, droog-like songs. From doing just this, she has gained over 100 million followers on TikTok, with so many of these followers being horny men.
I'm so fucking horny!
What's even worse is that most of these TikTok stars haven't even left school. But nonetheless, this is in turn incentivizing the girls watching to mimic that exact behavior and chase the same dopamine dragon.
Hang on, I almost caught the dragon!
You almost got me!
TikTok's design then exploits these young, underage teenage girls who are trying to become internet famous by being sexy, and honestly, it's just disturbing. So as TikTok grows, these sorts of people are the new role models for teenage girls. I mean, is it any wonder that doctors on TikTok are telling 12-year-olds to get STD treatments without their parents' knowledge? This is just one of the reasons why studies are now showing that the more of these short TikTok-style videos you watch, the more depressed you become, even for active people who exercise regularly. Being famous used to require having actual talent, but now as a result of TikTok, the measure of fame for teens is directly proportionate with the volume of tasteless debauchery the algorithm promotes. Vulgarity has replaced talent. The more vulgar and obtrusive, the better.
Hello.
Who are you?
I'm here to help you. I can make you rich and famous.
Really?
You just have to do one thing. Get naked in front of everybody and worship me.
Does that really work?
Of course it works. I will make you extremely wealthy. In exchange, I need your soul. I mean friendship. Do we have a deal?
Deal.
Thanks to TikTok, young people are increasingly buying into the idea that narcissism, not fulfillment, not meaning, not authenticity, but narcissism is the ultimate measure of satisfaction. And is it really any wonder given the warped and corrosive view that's fed to Generation Z by TikTok's algorithm? But then again, that's the least of TikTok's problems. Because TikTok isn't just depressing and creepy, it's neurologically damaging. Never before have we seen attention spans drop so low. It's being reported that many in Generation Z have had their attention spans reduced to that of a goldfish.
You would think this girl, like her fucking skin is growing onto this phone. She never goes anywhere without this phone in her hand, and she's always looking at it. Like, she can't talk to anybody for 5 seconds without looking at her phone, checking TikTok.
I was in a video drought, you know the feeling. There are videos we watch because we've got to watch something and it's better this than nothing. You get stuck here long enough and you start drifting back to Tinder and Snapchat, but you know that's not where you belong. So you try this and that. Some videos get you with fancy graphics and thumbnails and all too often making you feel like you've been robbed of time. I couldn't bring myself to go there. And with friends and family constantly talking about TikTok, I eventually caved and downloaded it. It took me over an hour to escape from the most hollow and vacuous videos. I wasted so much time watching apes, guys shooting sword shotguns, and just complete narcissists narcissists. And in my own experience, after watching these videos for hours, I would struggle to read a book for more than 15 minutes without getting fidgety. And I wasn't the only one having this issue, far from it. Turns out a whole generation of people are now wired into these dopamine-sucking videos, with the original source of this ugly behavior being TikTok. The way TikTok works is that it adjusts your mind to demand as much instant pleasure as possible. And if you don't believe me, just try watching a movie from the 50s, 60s, or even 70s after going on TikTok. And I reckon in most cases, within minutes, you'll be wondering, when will something happen? And this is because TikTok uses social engineering tactics. And one of the most effective ones TikTok uses is called intermittent reinforcement. You can see intermittent reinforcements most clearly in a casino. For example, when you use a slot machine, you don't win every time or win the same amount, because not only would it cost the casino a ton of money, but if you did win every time, the excitement and fun of gambling would be lost. Because when we expect a reward after a certain action, we tend to work less for it. Yet when the timing of the reward or the certainty that we'll get it at all is unpredictable, we tend to repeat the behavior with even more enthusiasm. If you're going fishing, for example, and you're on a boat for hours and hours and you finally catch that fish, it feels so much better than just buying it on the counter. This is because we as humans relish the joy of a hard-earned reward that much more. And so in the case of TikTok, a video has to capture a user's attention very quickly to cause them to watch the whole thing. If a video doesn't capture your attention within a couple of seconds, it's swiping onto the next one. And so after countless videos fail to give you that dopamine rush, you will finally find that gem, that video you never knew you wanted so badly.
Hey you guys, I'm here at the Minnesota State Fair and Peppa, what are you doing at the Minnesota State Fair?
Only for our attention to last another 30 seconds or so before being hypnotized by the next video over and over. This can go on for hours, and the scrolling nature of TikTok allows you to watch the first couple of seconds of hundreds of videos, occasionally finding that one that gives you that rush of dopamine.
So when you look at TikTok, it's interesting because it is a scroll, but they've actually done something new, I want to say, in some ways. And they have the vertical scroll, which is what you have on Facebook. For example, you're scrolling up on the news feed. But what this does is if you stop on a video and you like that video, it'll restart that video. So in a sense, you've got a horizontal scroll going on pleasurable content, and you also have a vertical scroll going, both. So it'll just auto load, and you'll be in this pleasurable dopamine state, carried away. It's almost hypnotic, You'll keep watching and watching, and then if you want to scroll up, there you go on the traditional scroll again to the next. And there goes that dopamine hit again.
This is leading to a huge decline in Generation Z's short-term memory and attention span, which is why TikTok serves as an opiate to the masses, reducing our mental, moral, and physical capabilities in return for that sweet dopamine hit.
Oh, but I agree. I think we have no idea what technology is, how it's going to impact in the long run. We don't have enough of a test case yet.
Right.
And I can look at my kids and and just within my little microcosm of my three little dudes, their sort of their attention span, right, and their ability to, and you can see it impacting. You can see it impact the way that they study, the way that they learn, the way, and I don't think we're, again, I'm not a Luddite, but I don't know that we're doing ourselves any favors, right? And
I don't think we're doing ourselves favors either, and I don't think there's any way of pulling back from it.
And who's better at social engineering than TikTok's biggest investors, the Chinese government? TikTok's highest ranks are unsurprisingly littered with Chinese officials, the very same people who have been using Silicon Valley-funded social credit scores to control their population. This is just one of the many, many reasons the Pentagon declared TikTok a cyber threat.
Really? I think the U.S. military has instructed all personnel to stay off of TikTok, or not to use TikTok. Yeah,
really?
Yeah. Again, because of the same concern. The whole idea is this platform, because these companies can argue all they want to that they're independent from the Chinese authorities, but ultimately if the Chinese authorities knock on their door and say, we would like access to your database because we want to hoover up all the information about every U.S. military person that's stationed wherever, or they're going to do it.
They're trying to get one of the top TikTok executives in here.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's considered a cyber threat. Yeah. Lieutenant Colonel Robin Ocha, an Army spokeswoman, told military.com, we do not allow it on government phones.
There you go.
Whoa.
Look at that.
a cyber threat.
But TikTok turning us into brain-dead goldfish consumers is just one cog within the TikTok cancer, because as you become addicted to the app, you ignore TikTok's privacy page, a privacy page that literally admits to collecting as much data as possible from metadata, GPS location, and pulling all contact information from your Facebook, Instagram, and phone. But even worse, TikTok was caught monitoring what users were typing even when they were typing on different apps. So where does all this data go? To the Chinese government. By law, TikTok has to provide all the data on its users to the Chinese government. This is why the amount of user information and data collected by TikTok is much higher than other social networks.
More teenagers are on TikTok now than use Facebook. It counts millions and millions and millions of Americans as users, but it is owned by a Chinese company that includes Chinese Communist Party members in leadership, and it is required under Chinese law to share user data with Beijing. And TikTok has admitted that it has sent user data to China. To put it bluntly, this is a major security risk for the American people.
But as the app has been downloaded 165 million times in the US, it might be too late for that to matter, because if each of these downloads is unique, more than half of the American population has already turned over their most sensitive data to the Chinese government. We already know that sites like Facebook and Google are free because you, the user, are the product, but even then, Instagram, Facebook and Twitter, they don't collect anywhere near the same amount of data that TikTok does, let alone trying to hide it like TikTok does. They just don't compare, because allowing your profile to be mined for targeted ads is a world away from servicing a literal dictatorship committing an untold amount of atrocities.
And what kind of data is TikTok collecting as it runs on our phones? A heck of a lot more than you would think. Images, of course, that users post. But TikTok also collects information about the messages that you send, about the apps that you use, the other apps on your phone. It collects the sites that you visit. It collects your search history. It collects your keystrokes. It collects your location data. It stores all of this and maybe lots more. And I can tell you, as the father of two small children, who already have many of their friends on social media, even though they're quite young, I find this absolutely horrifying, and we know that it's a national security risk. Since our last hearing on this subject, the Pentagon, the Department of State, the Department of Homeland Security, and the TSA have all banned their employees and service members from using TikTok on government devices. In fact, the Pentagon even went so far as to say that employees should have their children uninstall TikTok from their personal devices.
It was for these exact reasons that the CEO of Reddit claimed that TikTok was parasitic. The CEO claimed, "The fact that it's always listening and the fingerprinting technology they use is truly terrifying, and I could not bring myself to install an app like that on my phone." He also added, "I actively tell people don't install that spyware on your phone." But then again, maybe sending off your biometric data back to an authoritarian regime is worth it for the high caliber TikTokers.
Just shake that ass for Joe Biden. We don't actually like him, but what to do? Just vote blue, get Trump out of office and start new.
Was that transient rush of narcissistic fulfillment really worth it for promoting an app that is literally designed to give your data to a country that openly wants to take over the world? Maybe it is. Maybe TikTok deserves some credit, because the unprecedented psychological changes it's bringing to Generation Z is truly remarkable. It's almost as if TikTok is China's attempt at pushing their propaganda out to the world. I mean, that would explain why researchers have grown worried that the app could prove to be one of China's most effective weapons in the global information war, bringing Chinese-style censorship to mainstream US audiences and shaping how they understand real-world events. The imprisonment of more than 1 million Uyghurs, the corruption of upper-level party members, pro-Taiwan, pro-Hong Kong, pro-Tibet movements, all of it is censored. Anything that's a news source must be in line with the version of the world China wants people to see. This is because China has caught on to the fact that those who control social media algorithms pick the president.
Most powerful people in the world today are the people who are writing the algorithms for Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, because they're controlling the spread of information. They're literally rewriting people's brains. They're programming the culture. The day is coming when the politicians realize that these social media platforms are picking the next president, the next congressman. They're literally picking.
So if sites like Facebook and Twitter can influence politics in such a huge way, what can a ruthlessly dystopian communist regime do? As the analyst Ben Thompson observed, it is conceivable that TikTok's algorithm could be changed almost invisibly to promote videos that could help further China's political goals. You know, for example, TikTok could subtly show just 2% more pro-Biden content than users would usually see, and a million of these small nudges could tip things in a direction that is more favourable to Beijing's interests. This is why China has been pouring a ton of money into getting TikTok widely used through a campaign of paid content creation and marketing, because once they got their wide-scale buy-in, China had free reign. China could start growing its cultural influence, and it's really working.
Considering right now, tonight, a ban on Chinese social media apps, especially TikTok.
We're certainly looking at it. We've worked on this very issue for a long time.
Would you recommend that people download that app on their phones?
Only if you want your private information in the hands of the Chinese Communist Party.
The ignorance to TikTok is still pervasive. TikTok is downloaded thousands of times every hour, and the British government continues to allow the owners of TikTok to establish a headquarters in London. It just highlights Britain's pathetic dependence on China for easy money, because in our clown society, the desire for cheaper goods is worth more than the price of freedom. With all this knowledge out there, we still see TikTok use growing exponentially, because celebrities, governments and the media continue to promote it. Everywhere you go, TikTok links are dished out, and with everyone promoting it and trying to get that 15 minutes of fame they crave, you'll end up feeling like you need to see what's going on. Because if you've got your friends on there, you've got celebrities, politicians and the media companies like the BBC promoting TikTok, you might feel a need to download the app. You want to know what everyone's talking about, you need to feel that affinity with your peers. And that's why there's no discernible backlash against TikTok. It's all predicated on conformity. We are seeing our minds rot. We are becoming so numb with the deluge of entertainment on offer that we have no time or interest in improving our lives, no attention span to form our own ideas, no care for the existential threat China poses. We have to stop watching TikTok videos. We have to stop downloading TikTok. We have to completely reject this app before it's too late.